Board meeting, committee of the whole, combined meeting. Please rise for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Jeff Renahan, First Ward.
Bill Carlos, Second Ward.
Michael Safone, 4th Ward.
Stefan Krakow, 5th Ward.
Ann Shershon, 6th Ward.
Felicia Salvatore, Town Clerk.
Jim Nelson, Attorney for the Town.
John Baisley, Town Supervisor. Welcome everybody tonight. Tonight's Town Board meeting, first item on the agenda will be a public hearing. Cablevision, the Wappingers Falls, DBA Altice will be adjourning that to August 4th. Second one's a public hearing, Town Code Amendment 210, and Vehicle Fueling Stations Floating Overlay District 3 is a public hearing amending Town Code zoning map designations, South Hills Small Commons. 4, assignment of Sergeant Matthew Orzo to Detective Sergeant. 5, accept resignation of Donna Coffey, Town School Crossing Guard. 6, authorize a grant application agreement to 2021 Consolidated funding. 7, waive the exemption of town for peddlers for town-sponsored events or any park properties. 8, authorize the supervisor to sign license agreement with Tilcon for a training range for the police department. 9, waive a liquor license for Kobe Hibachi Sushi. 10, approve whiskey, bourbon, and barbecue with the VFW. And 11, waiver approve Germania's annual Oktoberfest in Crystalline Market. With that, I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules for any item on the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is there anybody that would like to speak for any item on the agenda that is not a public hearing?
And there's no camera.
Doreen?
Yes. Should I go ahead?
Go ahead, Doreen.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I have a question on agenda item number 8, the license agreement with Tilcon Training Range for the police department. Is there any cost for that?
No.
Okay, so Tilcon is just agreeing to letting the town police use that for 0 fee?
Yep, 0 fee, and they helped with preparing it.
Oh, well, okay, that's good. I also have a question about number 6, Jay, the grant application funding. So I see here that it says, including not limited to water quality improvement projects, waterfront revitalization. Are there any, is this related to specific projects?
Doreen, I think it's multiple projects.
Okay, so is it anything that the town has in the works right now that you're applying for?
Not that I know of.
No, Doreen, not that I know of.
Huh, okay. So basically you're applying for grants, and if you get some money, you'll decide where you're going to use them?
No, we're applying for it to get ready to get going. Some of this may be tied into Hudson Heritage. I'm not 100% sure, but we're looking at it, and the grant writers want us to put this part in first so we can go forward with it, because we have to have a date, because that's to be in by the end of July, and we'd miss our cutoff date.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? I see no hands raised. Ally
Yeah.
Bob has your hand raised.
Ally Bob?
Is this about a public hearing or an agenda item?
Public hearing.
Okay, so that's going to wait just a moment?
Okay.
Yeah, that'll be up in
worries.
about a few minutes. Anybody else?
Nobody else?
Motion to resume the rules?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to make a motion to move number 4 to the first thing on the agenda.
So moved.
So moved. All those in favor?
Aye.
Jeff?
Ready?
Yep.
Be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby authorize the assignment of Sergeant Matthew Orser to the permanent position of Detective Sergeant at the yearly salary of $116,929.61, subject to a probationary period of not less than 8 nor more than 26 weeks per civil service law, effective August 9, 2021. And be it further resolved that the town supervisor is authorized to execute and file all documentation required by the Dutchess County Department of Human Resources in connection with this appointment. So moved.
Second.
Been motion second. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Congratulations, Matthew. Congratulations. Well done. That brings us to public hearing number 1 on Cablevision of Wappingers Falls, Inc., DBA Altice. Make a motion to open that public hearing.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is there anybody here to discuss that public hearing?
Anybody here to discuss Altice?
If not, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn that to the August 4th meeting. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Brings us to our next public hearing, Town Code Amendment, Chapter 210, and the Vehicle Fueling Stations Floating Overlay District. Make a motion to open that public hearing. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
And anybody's going to speak at any public hearings tonight, please ask them to keep their comments to 3 minutes so we can move along. Anybody here to discuss that public hearing? Karen, come on up.
I can't really hear with them. Just wait.
Can we close that?
Yeah, can we just- Unless they went outside.
Yeah, I think they're,
They're out. Okay, never mind. Thank you. Sorry about that. Sit.
Sit, that way you,
And you can speak right into the
that way you can get the
microphone.
better shot in the microphone.
Is this what was emailed? Yes.
Yep,
Good evening, Karen Hagstrom from Steiner Diamond and Glass.
it's not coming through, Jay.
try again, Karen.
Okay. Karen Hagstrom, Steiner Diamond and Glass, is that better?
Yep.
If you can
Thank
move a
you.
little closer, if you can.
Okay.
Sorry.
On behalf of Malabar Realty, we submitted a fairly lengthy submission with a letter and some exhibits. I think you're all fairly familiar, and I know I have 3 minutes, so I'll just get down to the nuts and bolts of it. Just basically, we're asking to be carved out of and have an exception from this overlay district based on a special facts exception, which we've detailed in the letter, which we've given to your council. I think there's special counsel on this matter. But essentially what it states is that we're entitled as a matter of right because we're in full compliance at the time of this reapplication. As we've outlined in various correspondence to the board, you know, the 2015 application, this board is going to, the planning board will be, and the ZBA will be bound by their 2015 decisions unless there was a material change in fact. So that's where we feel that we meet that element of being entitled, because we already went, as you know, we just went through 4 years of litigation with the town. The town litigated side by side with Malabar and prevailed all the way up to the Court of Appeals. It was only that the approvals expired, and there was we consulted with your council and determined rather than litigate against the town that we would just reapply and do a fresh start. So we're in a unique position there of we feel we're entitled under this prong as a matter of right to that reapplication, because it would only be if there was a material change since the 2015 approval, and the only thing during the process that the planning board has requested was a traffic study, and we've provided a preliminary traffic study which states that the plan is that the traffic will not be negatively impacted, and also a lot size variance. It was just frankly missed on the first go around, but both of the decisions from 2015 from the ZBA and the planning board talk about the fact that the lot was substandard at the time. So it was heavily contemplated, discussed, and entered into both decisions at that time. So that's essentially, where this stands, and there's only two applications, or two, I think it's just Stewart's and Malabar that will be impacted by this overlay zone. So, we're hoping that we will be carved out because we're in a very unique circumstance. As a matter of fact, it's not just those approvals, but the seeker doesn't even expire, and there was a negative declaration. So we're just in a unique position, and we're hoping that the town board will consider this legal doctrine that we feel that applies to us and will carve us out of this overlay zone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
We will review it.
Mr. Supervisor, can I ask a question, please? In your public hearing?
Yep.
Hi.
Hi.
I remember back then, but not as good as I used to remember back then, that when they dug those tanks out, the gas tanks, that was when we had those open pits up there, they found a leak of gasoline from one of the tanks. I didn't see anything in this rather voluminous document that indicated that that had been reviewed and cleared by DEC. Do you know anything about that?
Yes, and I don't have that with me tonight because I obviously wasn't anticipating your question, but I do know that we provided a remediation report to the planning board. So I can certainly get that to you as well, if you would like me to.
Yeah, that would be a very important concern. And I don't think it would have been, if you're saying to me that our planning board had that?
I believe so, but let me follow up on that for you because I don't want to speak out of turn. I don't have that in front of me this evening, but
Okay.
I do recall that there were a lot of documents supplied to the planning board, and I believe it included information about the oil tanks, so I will get that to this board.
I was under the impression the reason we lived with those open pits and the gravel all around was because it hadn't been cleared by DEC for them to clear and fill it back in. So I just want to make sure
Yeah.
that DEC, not Town of Poughkeepsie, cleared it.
I think it was Board of Health. There were, but I will get that information to the board.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
I have another speaker, Eric, I believe, Team 2. You have your hand raised, go ahead.
Am I unmuted?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, first, I want to know where...
And your name
we
is?
I'm sorry?
What's your name?
My name is Eric Cole,
Okay.
and I'm an attorney. I represent Almark Industries. And first, I'd like to know where we can find this submission, because I didn't see it in the town board agenda packet. And I'd also like to make two very brief points. First, the council talks about how they had approvals, I believe, back in 2015, and then there was some litigation, and the approvals expired. But the litigation didn't stay the approvals. There was nothing that would stop the Malabar or Arlington Farms from going ahead and constructing and moving forward with the gas station. It's they chose not to move forward with it, and they allowed the approvals to expire. Now they want a second bite at the apple? That doesn't seem very fair. And at the same point in time, Malabar Industries or Arlington Farms, I forget what they're called now, their application was the whole reason that this new proposed zoning amendment was made. Them and Stewart's, they were like within 25 feet of residential property. It just makes no sense to carve them out for legislation that was basically enacted, to address that application and Stewart's application. And I'd like to know. Go ahead.
Sorry, Eric, continue.
No, I'd like to know where we could get the submission that was just spoken about.
Two things, and obviously, just for the record, David Cooper, serving as the town board special counsel on this matter. Eric, you indicated that the whole reason for this rezoning was with Malabar and Stewart's application. That's not accurate. I just don't want that to just hang out there in the record. You may view it that way. That's your prerogative, but that is not accurate with respect to what the board is doing here, or why the board is considering these amendments. Your second question with respect to the submission, I assume you're referring to the submission that Ms. Heidstrom just handed up to the board. That submission came in very late today, so I don't believe it made it into anybody's packets, but
Okay.
It wasn't hidden from anybody. I think it came in, I saw it at about 5 o'clock today, or 4 o'clock today. Just-
I wasn't suggesting it was hidden. And
Yeah, okay.
I'll retract my statement that it's the sole reason for this local legislation being enacted, but it is a very large reason.
I'm not going to get into it in the record here. I just wanted to make sure that doesn't hang out there.
I don't think that statement's correct either, but we'll leave that there.
Okay,
Anybody else want to speak?
is there anybody else that would like to speak on this public hearing?
Jim G?
Jim, unmute yourself. There you go. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, good evening. Jim Greaves, 215 Over Rocker Road. I just would like to reinforce that Malabar, through their own negligence, their plans, they never renewed their plans for the town planning board, and it was all done by them and nobody else. So I don't believe that there should be any special consideration for them based on the fact that it was solely their negligence, why their project didn't move forward. They, as Eric outlined, they could have stepped up at any time, got the permits necessary, and started the demolition and the construction. And over the period of time, they dropped the ball, and their plans are no longer valid based on them not renewing them. So, and we also know that the original intention of the 500-foot buffer was to protect the residential properties from the hazards associated with gasoline filling stations. So I think that the attorney for Malabar's points should not be considered. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? There's, Eric, you want to speak a second time?
Just for 10 seconds. I just want to mention that the 2-acre minimum lot size requirement, perhaps it was discussed, but it is a variance that was never applied for. So, right there is a change in circumstances.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to speak to this public hearing?
There's a
Please
guy
raise your
there.
hand.
Right in the corner of the screen.
Linda Wright?
Linda, go ahead.
Hi, this is Linda Wright from 217 Over Rocker Road. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yep.
we can.
Okay, I just want to thank you for having the moratorium, and that's still in place, right?
Correct.
Okay. I understand that was to have a study to see how many gas pumping stations, refilling stations, within the town rules. Like, you can't have a gas station across from another gas station, or it had to be within like 1,000 feet, or it had to go against the town rules that set up like the 500 feet from a resident's house. You couldn't have a gasoline filling station. And they also had the different rules that you were looking into in the moratorium. Has anyone done a study of that?
We're looking, Linda, we're just about finished. We should have the finished product out next week. We're just taking final input tonight. I mean, at the next meeting, not next week.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jim, did you want to add one more short point? Or, no, okay. I have Al Hobb.
Yes, Felicia, I do.
Oh, right, here we go.
I just wanted to make one other point that the attorney from Malabar also brought up. the traffic study they did is no longer any good, considering that at every planning board meeting, Eastdale comes into the planning board with new proposed changes to their project up there. And in each of their presentations, they state that it's going to cause additional constraints at the traffic at the Dutchess Turnpike and Overlook Road intersections. And this is where that Malabar proposed station was. So that point should just be mooted as well by their attorney. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Al Hobb?
Yes, thank you. This is Amy Hobson Aguirre of 208 Overrock Road. And I just want to thank the board for continuing the moratorium against the proposed gas station. And also I just want to mention, please just think of the safety of the residents in the town of Poughkeepsie, and especially think of the children. There's a lot of children that live by this proposed gas station site. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I think that is it.
Make a motion to resume the rules.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn this public hearing till August 4th.
So moved.
Is second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Brings us to our next public hearing, the South Hills Commons. Make a motion to open that public hearing. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody here to speak on the South Hills Common project?
Ally, this would have been the time, unless you want to wait to
Nope, she raised her hand.
do the presentation first.
This is Barbara Kaplan from the Chanticleer Condominiums, 2833 Route 9D. We're the property adjacent to the proposed South Hills Common 24 units. Let me just make a statement that they have asked me to say. I am the president of the association, so I'm speaking on behalf of the 19 unit owners. Placing a 24-unit rental property in the midst of a community of single-family homes and condos is disruptive to the quality of life on Route 9D. Although Chanticleer Condominium is zoned multifamily residential, each unit is privately owned. The unit owners pay school taxes, property taxes, and their own water bills. The 19 owners pay a common charge to the association to maintain the buildings, landscaping, snow removal, to name a few of the amenities. Bringing into the community 50 or more occupants begs the question, what is their investment in this community? If the planning board, or I should say now the zoning town board, decides to only consider the developer's interest and approve the change in zoning, what protection will they afford us regarding the property line, fencing, lighting, and additional traffic on 9D? Not to mention the entering and exiting of the driveways from that unit and from the Chanticleer unit, which are driveways are almost adjacent to each other. Each of you will go home tonight after this meeting, but what you decide here will affect 19 families at Chanticleer Condominium, the residential homes along 9D, and a historic cemetery. Please take all of that into consideration and do not approve the zoning changes. Let them put 5 or 6 houses in there and be in line with what is now in the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have Ally Bopp.
Hello.
Ally, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Allie. I live at 2821 Route 9D. 2 sides of my property are going to be massively affected by South Hills Commons being constructed, and it's definitely going to change our way of life around here. I'm hoping that if this zoning goes through, there is really a serious look taken at the buffer that's going up between the property and the surrounding houses and the condos as well. And I'm hoping that we have a full fence on both sides. Pretty sure in the last meeting, the planning board meeting, there was only one side being proposed with fencing. And I also think that you have to take a serious look at the driveway and how busy it is on 9D. It is extremely dangerous. There are people passing on the double yellow all the time. You know, the speed limit is 40, it goes down to 30 at the village, but people are going 50. There's a school bus stop right here as well, which is not notified on the road. And I think that if this does go through and this is constructed, we really have to think about, you know, lowering the speed limit on this road. I know that sidewalks are proposed. We need crosswalks, a bus stop. And I really hope that you take the neighbors into consideration, the people that live here, and call this place home and, you know, want to continue with their quality of life. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Doreen?
Hi. Yes, I had a question regarding wetlands on the project site. If you look at the National Wetlands Inventory Mapper and Dutchess County Parcel Access, it clearly shows a wetland spanning over these two project sites, the 5-point-something acre and the 1-point-something acre. But the majority of the 0.84 wetland is on the larger of the two parcels. So I don't know what happened. At one point, there was some discussion about wetlands on the project site, and now supposedly there are no wetlands. So I'm not exactly sure what happened there, and I will be further investigating this. And also, last year at the Committee of the Whole meeting, Jay asked if the apartments would be market rate. And the town is working on their draft comprehensive plan, and they noted that 47% of the population is rent burdened, meaning they pay more than 30% of their income on rent or housing costs. So to me, that means affordable housing is needed, not just market rate housing. So this is the perfect time for the town to be considering affordable housing components for any time they do rezonings. Thank you.
Thank you, Doreen. Do you have anybody else wish?
I'm looking for anybody else. Seeing no one, I think, Amy, you might want to talk for a minute or two.
Hi, excuse me, Amy Bombardieri with Day and Secosa Engineering, representing the applicant. The proposed project is adjacent to the residential multifamily zoning district. The proposal is extending the zoning district over this parcel so that the apartments would be a legal use. The apartments are going to pay taxes, water and sewer bills. They're going to pay recreation fees. The rental market in Dutchess County is less than 0.9%, which is in part driving the rental rates up as high as they are. This is going to be market rate housing, and we are providing a vegetated buffer. You can see that on sheet L2 of the site plan set. And the closest part of disturbance on this site, which is going to be on the opposite side of the vegetative buffer, is over 100 feet from the garage on Miss Bopp's property. So she'll have 100 feet to anything, but there'll be a tight vegetated buffer between her property line and the disturbance on the proposed site. As far as lowering the speed limit and the school bus stop, we have no control over that. That's the DOT. We did look into it, but that's their call. The school district, I don't even know if they have control. The wetland was verified by the town's consultant. All of this information is located in the neg deck that was issued in May by the planning board.
Amy, was it verified that there is no wetland, or?
There is no wetland. That is noted in the negative declaration, and there is a letter from the town's consultant to the planning board on file.
Does anybody have any questions for the applicant? No?
Anybody have any questions?
Anybody else wants to speak?
Anybody else want to speak on this public hearing?
No? No?
No.
Not, make a motion to close this public hearing?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Jeff? Oh, Bill?
It's resolution number 3, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Resolution number 3, whereas the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie held a duly noted public hearing on July 21st, 2021, at 7 p.m. at the Town of Poughkeepsie Town Hall, 1 over Rocker Road, Poughkeepsie, New York, to receive comments about an application by Mid-Hudson Development Corp. Requesting that the zoning for tax parcel numbers 615801, excuse me, 261673 and 6158-01-23765, located on Route 9D and on De Laverne Avenue respectively, in the town of Poughkeepsie, consisting of approximately 5.1 plus or minus acres, be changed from residence single family to 20,000 square foot R20 to residence multifamily RM designation. And whereas the town clerk notified the clerks of the surrounding municipalities of a public hearing pursuant to General Municipal Law 239 NN, as well as made referrals per Town Code 210-155. And whereas the legal notice of a public hearing was posted on June 24, 2021, and published in the Poughkeepsie Journal on July 8, 2021, and whereas the proposed zoning map amendment would allow for the development of South Hills Commons, a proposed 24-unit multifamily housing project consisting of 4 two-story buildings, and whereas a written response dated July 15, 2020, was received from the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development, it said response stated that the proposed zoning map amendment was a matter of local concern. And whereas the Town Planning Board, as lead agency, determined that the proposed project, including the zoning map amendment, would not have a significant adverse impact on the environment, and that no environmental impact statement will be required for reasons set forth in the secret negative declaration for an unlisted action dated May 20th, 2021. And whereas on May 20th, 2021, the Town Planning Board also voted to convey no recommendation, positive or negative, as part of its advisory report to the Town Board regarding the proposed zoning district change from R20 to RM. Noting several items for the Town Board's consideration, now therefore being enacted pursuant to Article 3, 210-11 of the Town of Poughkeepsie Code, the zoning designation for parcel number 6158-01-261673 and 6158-01-237655, located on Route 9D and on De Laverne Avenue respectively, Poughkeepsie, New York, and the town of Poughkeepsie, consisting of approximately plus or minus 6.51 acres, be changed from residence single-family 20,000 SF R20 to residence multifamily RN designation. And be it further enacted that said local law shall take effect immediately upon filing with the Secretary of State. So moved.
Second?
Been a motion and second. Any further questions?
I'd just like to say that I do appreciate that you've changed the orientation of the apartments, so it is impacting fewer of the residents as closely, but it still does impact this one and the condominiums, and I'm gonna rely that the plan for the buffers is gonna be followed through and maintained, and that you might consider to adding more fencing to increase the buffering between the current residents and the apartments.
It will be maintained, and it will be, that's a consideration we'll take into effect. We've been working with the planning board to make sure that we're meeting all their expectations. So if it's on the site plan, it has to remain, right? It's like legally bound, so.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes 5-1.
Thank you.
Michael?
Be it resolved, the Town Board, Town of Poughkeepsie is hereby accept with regret the resignation of Donna Coffey, school crossing guard with the Town of Poughkeepsie Police Department, effective July 8, 2021. So moved.
Second.
Been a motion and second. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. I want to thank Mrs. Coffey for her time.
Whereas New York State is accepting applications for the 2021 funding round of the New York State Consolidated Funding Application CFA program, now therefore be resolved that the Poughkeepsie Town Board, by the Poughkeepsie Town Board, that the supervisor is hereby authorized to submit a consolidated funding application for 2021 funding round from New York State for programs including but not limited to Department of Environmental Conservation's Water Quality Improvement Project Program and the Department of State's Local Water Revitalization Program, and upon approval of said request to enter into and execute a project agreement with the state for such financial assistance to the town of Poughkeepsie, and be it further resolved that the aforementioned potential grant agreements are subject to approval of the town attorney as to process, form, and content, and be it further resolved that filing applications for grants is exempt on secret review because it does not commit the town to a future course of action. So moved.
Second.
Got a motion second. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Whereas the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie has heretofore received a request submitted by Janet Mayhew, Director of Recreation, to waive peddlers' permits for organized town-sponsored events in town parks and on town properties, including but not limited to town ribbon cuttings, town grand openings, town concerts in the park, town camp, and town special events for the remainder of 2021. And whereas the presence of food vendors is a vital part of a successful event, now therefore be resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby waive the requirement of Chapter 151 permits for food vendors at the above events during 2021, provided, however, that those vendors will be required to certify with the town clerk and legal department that they will identify and defend the town from all claims and liabilities arising from and relating to the events, and submit to the town clerk a certificate of liability insurance naming the town of Poughkeepsie as an additional insured, and be further resolved that no secret review is required because of the adoption of this resolution is part of the ongoing administration of the town and has no potential for significant adverse environmental impact. So moved.
Second.
Got a motion second. Any questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Whereas the Town of Poughkeepsie Police Department, the Police Department is in need of a suitable site for use as a shooting range for police training, whereas after a diligent search, the Town of Poughkeepsie the Town Board has identified a suitable site at Cedar Cliff Quarry located at Quarry Road in the town of Marlborough, New York, 12542, tax ID number 513-600-108.4-4-9, the site. Whereas the owner of the site, Tilcon, New York, has agreed to allow the police department to use a portion of the site as a shooting range for police training in accordance with the terms and access agreement which is attached hereto and made part hereof. Whereas the Town Board has received a letter from the Town of Marlborough Code Enforcement Officer confirming that the use of the site as a shooting range for police training is permitted under the Town of Marlborough Town Code. A copy of said letter is attached hereto and made part hereof. Whereas the Town Board has reviewed the requirements of State Environmental Quality Review Act (SEQR), evaluate the potential environmental impacts of approving the proposed access agreement, and has completed the necessary environmental review as required by SEQR. Whereas the Town Board has determined that entering into the access agreement is necessary for the preparedness of the police department, is in the best interest of the citizens of the Town of Poughkeepsie, and whereas the access agreement must be approved by resolution of the Town Board, which authorizes, directs, and empowers the town supervisor to execute the access agreement on behalf of the Town Board. Now therefore be it resolved, the Town Board determines the act of approving the access agreement in an unlisted action under SEQR, which will not result in a significant adverse environmental impact. Be it further resolved, the Town Board hereby adopts a negative declaration and declares that entering into the access agreement with Tilcon, New York, Inc. will not require the preparation of a draft environmental impact statement for the reasons set forth in Part 2 of the short form environmental assessment form, the EAF, which is attached hereto and made part hereof. Be it further resolved, the Town Board adopts the EAF, which is attached hereto and made part hereof. And be it further resolved, the Town Board authorizes, directs, and empowers the town supervisor to execute the EAF, the negative declaration, and any other documents related thereto necessary to complete the SEQR process. Be it further resolved, the Town Board authorizes, directs, and empowers the town supervisor to sign the access agreement and any attendant documents related thereto. So moved.
Second.
Got a motion second. Any questions on this? I would just like to make a comment. I want to thank the police department and the staff for working with Tilcon to get this property. I mean, they tried to work with them on a piece on this side of the river, and it was too close to everything, so to work with them and with Marlboro. I think it was a great joint effort with everybody involved to get this going forward. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby acknowledge receipt of a request on behalf of Kobe Hibachi Sushi Asian Cuisine, Inc., 2585 South Road, Poughkeepsie, New York, for a waiver of the 30-day review period for a liquor license application. And be it further resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby approve the town clerk's forwarding of a waiver and consent pursuant to the attached request. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions on that one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Resolution number 10. Be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Poughkeepsie has heretofore received an application from Noel Todd Dillon on behalf of the Veterans Sportsmen's Association to hold a whiskey, bourbon, and BBQ event to be held at the VFW Post 170, Violet Avenue, Poughkeepsie, New York, on Saturday, September 25th, 2021, from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. And be it further resolved that the Town Board does hereby approve the application for said event pending receipt of a certificate of liability of insurance naming the Town of Poughkeepsie as an additional insured. So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any questions on that one?
Sounds like a good event.
Yeah. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0.
Whereas the Town Board, Town of Poughkeepsie has heretofore received a request submitted by Bill Reuter, President of Germania, to hold their annual Oktoberfest on September 10th, 11th, and 12th, 2021, as well as the Christmas Market to be held on November 12th and 13th, 2021 at Germania, 37 DeGarmo Road, Poughkeepsie, New York. Now therefore be it resolved, the Town Board, Town of Poughkeepsie does hereby approve the request as submitted for said events to be held on September 10th, 11th, and 12th, 2021, and November 12th, 13th, 2021, and does hereby waive all permit fees as requested in the letter received July 8th, 2021 from Bill Reuter, a copy of which is attached. So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions on that one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. That brings us to the end of our town board meeting. Make a motion to suspend the rules. All those in favor?
Aye.
Is there anybody that has, Doreen? Go ahead, Doreen.
All right, sorry, I had a problem unmuting. I have a question. So are there any attendance requirements for town board members, like regarding absences?
No. I think the requirement is, I was always told, Doreen, I can look in deeper, was you gotta show up once.
Wow, once
but-
during their term?
Yep. I think that was it. You have to have presence once, one day. I will look into and give you a definitive answer, Doreen. I'll email you tomorrow. But there is no attendance required. And the attendance that are required in some of the committees are put in the board in place, for different committees, attendance requirements. I don't think there is an actual physical requirement for a town board member.
Wow, okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Go on to, sure, come on up. This was the time.
We forget we have public
Yes.
hearing.
Hi, thank you. Nathan Robbins. I run a bourbon enthusiast group, which is working with the Veterans Association, and I'm the one who's been contacting all the distilleries. I reached out to the State Liquor Authority, seeing about the liquor permits for the event, if it was required, because there are certain ones. There's a craft beverage tasting one or a charitable event one, and they were anything but helpful. And I know we wanted to, dot our I's, cross our T's. Now we're coming for the event permit here. And we just want to make sure, to your knowledge, are there any additional liquor permits required to run such an event? Or does it definitely fall under the liquor license of the VFW?
Jim, you may know more than I do.
I don't think any of the board members, and I know certainly I would not pretend to understand all the regs of the State Liquor Authority. And I think what I would tell you is what you need to do, difficult as it may be, is to work with them as well as you can and make sure that you got clearance from them. Because
No, I have
the state controls liquor licenses.
I have an email trail. They're like, oh, no additional permits are required, but the VFW is not the one running the event. So I tried explaining it to them by email, but without that actual talking. Then I said, can I talk to
I
someone?
know, like,
Why
if you
don't
have
you-
it at Locust Grove, and you're having like a wedding, a
Yeah.
lot of times the caterer,
Yeah,
that's.
the catering permit.
They
yeah.
Why
use
don't-
their liquor license.
Why don't you just make them a co-host and put them on your insurance slab, and then you should be covered. I'm not a lawyer, but that would be what I would do, and I think you'd be okay.
Have you reached out to the state besides email?
I tried calling them. This was towards the tail end before restrictions got lifted. There was no one in the office. I emailed them, can someone call me and speak with me? No, we can't do that. We're limited staff. So, and I have all like an email paper trail of this, like,
I have personally called the State Liquor Authority in the last 2 months. They do answer the phone, and they get back to you pretty quick. So whether that's changed in the time you have, I was actually very impressed that you called, you got an answer on the phone, they actually talked to you, and I actually thanked them, because I
Yeah.
called them on numerous occasions for a few things, and they do get back to you, so I would try again.
okay.
Yeah,
All right, perfect. That was all I had. Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody, and good luck. Anybody else? No. Make a motion to resume the rules?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Um, Committee reports, finance,
Finance and technology, nothing to report.
recreation.
Yes, Monday, July 26th, that's next Monday, we are going to have a ribbon cutting and grand opening of the Creekside Park, which is one that's over off of 44. And it's going to start at 5:30 in the evening. There's going to be food trucks, bands, and we're going to cut the ribbon, so it should be fun.
And am I correct that also Dyson Racing will be there?
That's what it says on the flyer.
I think the flyer, Dyson Racing will be there.
We'll have some
with-
racing
with
cars
some
on
of their
display.
vehicles and stuff.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, because Dyson's building is right back there adjacent to the park. So yes, they're going to have their cars on display too. So it should be fun. Okay, and their concerts are ongoing Tuesday night, 7 o'clock at Greenville Park, and we should have 5 more Tuesdays left to go. And also summer camp is going well, although it'd be nice if we had a few more dry days, a little bit less rain, but they're getting by the best they can. And also the senior center is expanding and they're adding activities, so everything's going okay.
Fire advisor.
Yes, we were able to have a meeting there. All the fire districts in the town were there. The biggest concern we had was just the backlog of the inspections, mostly due to COVID. So they're picking that up, the life safety inspections, as well as, like I said, looking to fill that vacancy we have to see if that can help alleviate some of these inspections as well.
Infrastructure.
Infrastructure. Summertime is when our departments try to catch up with everything that's gone on. I have a couple of things I want to point out to you. Our highway department has been running a transfer station. It ran it 4 days in May, 2 each, and 2 in July, with a total of 2,016 cars coming through. We have 4 more scheduled dates for August and September. Offering the transfer station during the week instead of Sundays enabled the department to avoid overtime while enabling the courtesy to a comparable number of cars. To date, highways paved 10 roads in the town with another 8 or 10 scheduled before the leaves fall. Sewer. This is a catch-up time for them. They've done work on the 2 substations, the pump stations, and the same thing with water. They're doing the normal work routines. Everything is going okay. This is the time where they try and catch up. Nothing else to report.
Building consolidation. We've held a meeting, but there's nothing to report at this time. Master plan.
The master plan, yes. The committee finished its report, and we'll be submitting it to the town board directly at one of our meetings. And several members of the committee wanted an opportunity to address the board. These individuals have worked for us for 3 years now, and this has been a pretty complex and very involved process. These are just citizens. I mean, Ann and I and Jeff, we're on the board, but these are just regular citizens. And they had a lot to say, and they had a lot of impact, and they've had a lot of work. So when the time comes, I'd like the board to authorize the supervisor to give them certificates of appreciation. And I'll let you know as soon as I know which date is going to come in front of us.
Okay.
Did you skip personnel?
Yep.
Was there anything? Yeah, no, Jess isn't
Nothing
here,
to
Mike,
report.
no.
No, nothing.
Was that?
Go ahead.
Supervisors report, we've started the budget process. We'll have meetings with all the department heads in the next couple of weeks, and as again, we're still using extreme caution because of the after effects of COVID. We don't know where we're going, is number one. And number two, 2018-2019 budget cycle, the town met with the county on a consolidated initiative for shared services, and we were promised going through this process, and that year was the year that we redid the computer system in the police department, and we put in for our salt shed, for sharing salts, with the county. And they told us that when we did this, the savings the whole county had, that the state would be paying us back. It was 2018, 2019. This week, we received a check from the state for $295,000 for the savings that we got. And it was, salt purchasing cooperative was $19,399. The Tyler Technology Public Safety Software, they reimbursed us $291,918. So we received $295,000 back from the state. We were worried that, with the budget process going on with COVID and everything, that we would never see that money, but that money showed up early last month. So going forward, it was nice to see with everything's going on. We got this little boost coming down. That's all I have at this time.
I just wanted to say on August 17th this year, 6 o'clock at Town Hall here, I'm going to have an informal meeting. Community policing will be here, our zoning attorneys will be here, Fairview Fire Department will be here, Fox Run, Marist College, and a student rep from Marist College, and neighbors of the neighborhood Fairview, discussing concerns with zoning and how we can better get along with the Marist student population and make things work a little better down there. So it's open to anybody, so if you want to come in, it is informal, so hopefully we'll see you on the 17th.
Mike, I had one more. We applied for a community development block grant early last year for Sheaf Road Ball Field for a inclusive playground, and we received that grant early last month, and the county executive announced it last week, so it's now open, and Jan is designing it, and she's working with the Recreation Committee, the Highway Department, and a few local businesses to try to make up the difference to build that park down there. It's much needed. We have one up here on Over Rocker Road, which is a success. If you go by, it's used quite a bit. And a town of this size, having one in the opposite end of the town, I think will be extremely beneficial. And having Bowden Park close by as a county park, I think it'll be a win-win for us down there. That park definitely needed an upgrade, and it's going to be a big change for that end of the First Ward. It just goes to show you put a lot of time and effort into these grants, and you get them, and we do get some money back. A lot of times you always hear the ties that are to these grants are so tight it's not worth it, but these grants have always been good grants, and it shows that they are paying off. We are getting some money back. Anything else? No, Jeffrey?
Be it resolved, the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie is hereby adjourned to executive session to consider the following: the proposed acquisition, sale, or lease of real property when publicity would substantially affect the value thereof, to discuss matters which are exempt under open meeting law, including matters subject to attorney-client privilege. So moved.
Second.
The motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Town board goes into attorney-client privilege at 7:53 PM.